We, the citizens of America, are now joined in a great national effort to rebuild our country and restore its promise for all of our people. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Well, greetings, friends and fellow citizens, and welcome to the We the People Convention news and opinion radio show and podcast. My name is Tom Zawistowski, and I'm the host of this show. I'm also the president of the We the People Convention, and this show is paid for by the donations, the generous donations, the heartfelt donations of the people who donate to the We the People Convention. And you can do that if you'd like at wethepeopleconvention.org. Through their generosity, we've been able to fund a 5-station radio network here in Ohio. So those of you who are listening on the radio, welcome to you. We're on the radio from like 7:30 in the morning on Saturdays until 9 o'clock on various stations. And if you want to know those stations, you can go to wethepeopleconvention.org and click on the little yellow button there that says podcast and radio network, and it'll show you a map of all their radio signals, but it'll also show you links where you can listen to any of those radio broadcasts on your computer or on your phone because they're streaming online while they're broadcasting the shows as well. But the rest of you are watching through another method. Either you're watching our podcast, the live video for our show on our podcast at wethepeopleconvention.org. We have a player there, and we also have all the archives there. So if you click on the playlist button, you can look at past shows and listen to them as well. And on that same page where the radio network information is, you can also find out how to watch the show on your TV, on Amazon Fire TV and Roku TV. You can get links to iTunes if you want to listen to the podcast, the audio only podcast, or you can go to YouTube and watch the video there, just like you watch it on our website if that's more convenient for you. So welcome to all of you who are joining us. And if you're here for the first time, I just want to say welcome. I want to just kind of explain to you that this show is really about protecting and defending our individual freedom, liberty, and prosperity, and our Constitution and the American way of life. And so you're going to hear things here that you won't hear on any other news or opinion broadcast, including Fox TV. And, you know, we are about action. We are not just about talking. Every show, there are things I ask you to do, and that's how we defend our freedom and liberty and prosperity, by taking action to get the outcomes that we want in elections and otherwise. So welcome to all of you, and we're awful glad to have you with us. So we're going to start to show off with what really was the big story this whole week. And right after, when our show was put on last week, President Trump first said that he and the First Lady had tested positive for coronavirus. And I had sent out an email with a video, just a short 2.5-minute video of me making a statement about that. And I reminded people that President Trump was he may be 74 years old, but he was in extremely good health. The guy takes like no medications. And I had said that, you know, the chances of anything bad happening to him are like less than 2 or 3%. And I said, just relax. It's going to be fine. The president's going to be fine. And just give him your prayers. And don't worry, it's not going to interfere with the election because he'll make sure of that. So, you know, I think you will agree that since that happened last weekend, that's pretty much what happened. And by Tuesday, the president was out of the hospital and was doing well. And he put out this message, and I want to start with this. There's going to be a lot of video in this first segment, so there'll be a lot of audio from TV and from President Trump. So on the radio, you'll hear that. But let's listen to this first statement he made.
I just left Walter Reed Medical Center, and it's really something very special. The doctors, the nurses, the first responders, and I learned so much about coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently. and you're going to beat it. I went, I didn't feel so good. And 2 days ago, I could have left 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I felt great, like better than I have in a long time. I said just recently, better than 20 years ago. Don't let it dominate. Don't let it take over your lives. Don't let that happen. We have the greatest country in the world. We're going back to work. We're going to be out front. As your leader, I had to do that. I knew there's danger to it, but I had to do it. I stood out front. I led. Nobody that's a leader would not do what I did. And I know there's a risk, there's a danger, but that's okay. And now I'm better, and maybe I'm immune. I don't know. But don't let it dominate your lives. Get out there. Be careful. We have the best medicines in the world, and it all happened very shortly, and they're all getting approved, and the vaccines are coming momentarily. Thank you very much. And Walter Reed, what a group of people. Thank you very much.
So there you have the president with a very powerful and a statement that we need our leaders to say. Okay, this lie that getting COVID is a death sentence needed to be challenged. And President Trump, by getting COVID and not dying, proved it. And being 74 years old and not dying proved it. And so he said he led. And I put out a release, and if you want to get our press releases, go to wethepeopleconvention.org, put your email address in on the front page, and you'll get my press releases. And I put out a release that said, President Trump leads while others cower. Okay? And that's really what's happened, and that's what's wrong. Well, the media went nuts, right? Because that narrative that it's, COVID's not going to kill you, we can't have that. Because we've already scared the hell out of all you people, so we can't let you, stop being afraid. And so one of the biggest guys, who really shamed himself was Mike DeWine, the governor of Ohio, who was used by CNN to basically mask shame Trump. Here's what he had to say.
And I think, look, this is what I said at a press conference I did the other day. This should be kind of an alert to everybody that anybody can get the virus. Even the president of the United States can get the virus. And so we ought to use this and simply just, learn from it. And so people who have not worn masks in the past, I'm hoping that they'll look at this and say, look, the president can get it. I can get it. It can happen to anybody. And, I hope that that's what happens, and that's what comes out of this.
So there you have Governor DeWine saying that those of us who don't wear masks, because the masks don't work, and we know that for a fact, that we should learn from the fact that President Trump got it, that we should wear masks, right? So I sent a release out that questioned Governor DeWine. I said, so, Democrat DeWine, you actually think that President Trump and his security team intentionally did not take the China virus seriously and that they allowed him to get sick with the virus? Really? So everyone who comes in contact with the president for the past 6 months, including you, Governor DeWine, being tested before getting near the president, you're trying to tell me that testing everyone around you constantly is not, in your warped, non-scientific opinion, more preventative than wearing a mask. Really? Well, then explain to the Ohio voters, Governor, how your Democratic buddy, Governor Northam of Virginia, who has been a mask Nazi just like you, has masked up all the time. How did Northam and his wife both get COVID, Governor? What lessons should we non-mask wearers learn from that? We thought you said masks work, Governor DeWine. I guess not if they got it, right? So Governor DeWine, perhaps instead of going on the communist-controlled China news network, CNN, like the good Democrat that you are, and shamelessly trashing President Trump when he is in the hospital, perhaps you should learn the real lessons we get from President Trump's illness. First, this is a virus. Mankind has never stopped a virus and can't. Even you, Governor, have said we are all going to get this. So you're admitting you can't stop it. So why should we wear the mask? Masks don't work, and you have zero science to prove that it does. There's 14 studies that say they don't work. There are 0 studies that say masks do work. Getting the China virus is not a death sentence, as you constantly suggest. The survival rate in the United States is 98.8%. You never say that because you want to scare people. You have killed more people with your emergency orders than have died from the China virus in Ohio. but you will not release the data so voters can see the truth. We know what you're hiding, Governor, and you will be held accountable. A vaccine will never be close to 100% effective, and crippling our economy and destroying the lives of Ohio children, seniors, and citizens waiting for one is madness, and you are responsible for all of it. The real answer to COVID is what President Trump is proving today, and that is we will use therapeutic medicines to treat the disease if we get it, while we develop personal immunity, and we don't need masks or social distancing. That's the truth. This is just like any other virus and flu. When you get the flu, what do? You call the doctor up when it gets too much for you to handle. They say, take these pills for a week and you'll be okay. That's exactly what happened to President Trump, and he did it in just 3 days. So that's important. So here was some doctors reacting to the criticism, and I want you to hear what they had to say, because this is really important.
Tonight, after coming home to the White House from Walter Reed, and he recorded this video. Let's watch.
And I learned so much about coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently. And you're going to beat it.
Okay, so the president comes out and speaks, and people went nuts. Like, how dare he? He's a vector of the disease. He's super spreading throughout the White House. He's doing a video. Like, how dare he be optimistic? How did he look, and what about the overall message? Dr. Buttigieg.
Can I say about the overall message? That's exactly what I learned about public health, what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to sow panic. You're supposed to reassure, give accurate information about risks, trust people to make good judgments on their own behalf. The president did that, I think, tonight. Don't you think? I mean, I think I'm obviously like he's has a real spirit to him, doesn't he? But I think that message is right. It is accurate and consistent with the data. That COVID is not a death sentence, and I think we've created this idea in the public mind that it is something so unique and so deadly that we should utterly end all normal existence as a result of it. That's not right. We can have a much better way. Protect the vulnerable, shield them for a short period of time until we reach a level where there's population immunity, and then for the rest of the world, let us live our lives. And for folks who are vulnerable, who if your life is meaningless without hugging your grandchildren, you have to balance risks in everything we do in our life.
So there you have it. The doctors, remember, they always tell us, listen to the science when it's their scientists, but they don't want you to listen to science when it's scientists they don't agree with. And so those doctors who are on with Laura Ingraham, they are part of a group that's called the Greater Barrington Declaration. And this is a document that was signed by, get this, 4,000 medical professionals. And you can read this document, this Greater Barrington Declaration, if you go to just search on Greater Barrington Declaration online, and you'll find it. And basically, this declaration, the group issued a letter saying, an infectious disease epidemiologist and public health scientists, we have grave concerns about the damaging physical and mental health impacts of the prevailing COVID-19 policies, and recommend an approach we call focused protection. Those who are not vulnerable should immediately be allowed to resume life as normal. Simple hygiene measures such as hand washing and staying home when sick should be practiced by everyone to reduce the herd immunity threshold. Schools and universities should be open for in-person teaching. Extracurricular activities such as sports should be resumed. Young, low-risk adults should work normally rather than from home. Restaurants and other businesses should open. Arts, music, sports, and other cultural activities should resume. People who are at more risk may participate if they wish, while society as a whole enjoys the protection conferred upon the vulnerable by those who build up herd immunity. And so basically these guys are saying that we've done it all wrong. And it's just a matter of us, reversing that by statements like President Trump made. Okay, that's really what it's about. And then President Trump made another statement that I want to play for you because, they're always distorting everything. So President Trump, gets out of the hospital, he recovers in 3 days, says he feels great, took these therapeutic medicines, didn't have a vaccine, okay? And they all want to criticize him. So instead of people saying, well, man, this is a great symbol for those who are over 74, that this is not a death sentence. And for young people, take the masks off. You don't need them. Well, they didn't want to hear that. They're saying, well, the president, got special treatment. So, we're all going to die if we get it, but he lived. Well, the president answered that, and I want you to hear this answer because it's really important about therapeutic medicines, vaccines, and about your chances compared to his. Listen to this.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president, and I'm standing in front of the Oval Office at the White House, which is always an exciting place to be. I got back a day ago from Walter Reed Medical Center. I spent 4 days there and didn't have to. I could have stayed at the White House, but the doctor said, because you're president, let's do it. I said, fine. You tell me what to do, and I'm going to listen. These are great professionals. They've done a fantastic job. And by the way, not only at Walter Reed, all over the country, we have the greatest doctors in the world. We have the greatest nurses, the greatest first responders, law enforcement, by the way, incredible. Firefighters, everybody. They're just great. We have great people. This is a great country. But I spent 4 days there, and I went in, I wasn't feeling so hot, and within a very short period of time, they gave me Regeneron. It's called Regeneron, and other things too, but I think this was the key. But they gave me Regeneron, and it was like unbelievable. I felt good immediately. I felt as good 3 days ago as I do now. So I just want to say we have Regeneron, we have a very similar drug from Eli Lilly, and they're coming out, and we're trying to get them on an emergency basis. We've authorized it. I've authorized it. And if you're in the hospital and you're feeling really bad, I think we're going to work it so that you get them and you're going to get them free. And especially if you're a senior, we're going to get you in there quick. We have hundreds of thousands of doses that are just about ready. I have emergency use authorization all set, and we got to get it signed now. And you're going to get better. You're going to get better really fast. This is things that nobody even thought of a few months ago. The job that the scientists, the labs, everybody have done is incredible. Then in addition to that, you have various other drugs that help a lot, but these, I view these, I know they call them therapeutic, but to me it wasn't therapeutic, it just made me better, okay? I call that a cure. So I want to get these things done. So we have to get them done, we have to get them approved, and I want to get them to the hospitals where people are feeling badly. That's much more important to me than the vaccine. But on the vaccines, we have many companies that are in final stages for the vaccines, Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, Pfizer, all great companies, but many of them. And we're going to have a great vaccine very, very shortly. I think we should have it before the election, but frankly, the politics gets involved, and that's okay. They want to play their games. It's going to be right after the election. But we did it, nobody else. Nobody else would have been able to do it. So we have these drugs, Eli Lilly and the others that are so good, but they are, in my opinion, remember this, they're going to say that they're therapeutic, and I guess they are therapeutic. Some people don't know how to define therapeutic. I view it different. It's a cure. For me, I walked in, I didn't feel good. A short 24 hours later, I was feeling great. I wanted to get out of the hospital. And that's what I want for everybody. I want everybody to be given the same treatment as your president, because I feel great. I feel like perfect. So I think this was a blessing from God that I caught it. This was a blessing in disguise. I caught it. I heard about this drug. I said, let me take it. It was my suggestion. I said, let me take it. And it was incredible the way it worked. Incredible. And I think if I didn't catch it, we'd be looking at that like a number of other drugs. But it really did a fantastic job. I want to get for you what I got, and I'm going to make it free. You're not going to pay for it. It wasn't your fault that this happened. It was China's fault. And China's going to pay a big price, what they've done to this country. China's going to pay a big price, what they've done to the world. This was China's fault. And just remember that. So we're going to get you the drug. It's going to be free. We're going to get it into the hospitals as soon as you can, as soon as we can. So hopefully this is going to be not just a therapeutic. It's going to be much more than a therapeutic. You're going to get better. You're going to get better fast, just like I did. So again, a blessing in disguise. Good luck.
So I don't know how you can be any more direct than that. The President of the United States just told you to your face that he cares so much about you that he's going to make sure that everyone who needs the drugs that helped him get them, and he's going to make them free. Okay? He also made it clear, like we're saying, all these people that are trying to tell you that we're going to have to mask up and lock down until there's a vaccine. That's garbage. There's never going to be a vaccine that works for everybody, and many of us are never going to take it, okay? But we want therapeutic medicines, and that's what he's talking about. And so we're going to get through this like nothing, all right? And we've got to open up because there's no excuse anymore. It's just a lie, folks. It's just a lie. But, speaking of liars, so what happens after President Trump makes that statement? Oh, yeah, Twitter and Facebook censor him, saying that it was misinformation, that what you just heard the president say, they're saying that it's misinformation. And it's just unbelievable. He says, he traded this. Flu season is coming up. Many people every year, sometimes over 100,000, and despite the vaccine, die from the flu. Are we going to close down our country? No. We have learned to live with it. Just like we are learning to live with COVID, and in most populations, it is far less lethal than the flu. Oh, Facebook and Twitter can't have you say that. Can't have you say that, right? But that's the truth, folks. And that's why the president's a leader. And so I'm just going to close this segment by putting up on the screen the same thing I put up over and over, and I'll read it to you on the radio. Your chance of dying if you're under 19 years of age is your chance of surviving COVID is 99.997. If you're 20 to 49, your chance of surviving are 99.98%. If you're 50 to 69, your chances are 99.5%. And if you're over 70 years, it's 94.6. And that includes people who are up at 90 and 100 years old. Okay? Don't buy the lie. This is a flu. We're going to treat it with therapeutics. Don't need a stinking vaccine. Don't need to wear masks. Don't need to social distance. Don't need to stay home, just like those doctors said. Okay? 4,000 epidemiologists and doctors said that. Think they might be right? Yeah, they're right. But the people are telling you they're wrong. They're just trying to control you. So we're going to take a quick break here. You've been listening to the We the People Convention News and Opinion radio show and podcast. And my name is Tom Zawistowski.
Buckeye Firearms Association is Ohio's #1 gun rights organization, protecting the rights of Ohio's 4 million gun owners. And you can get our weekly gun rights newsletter free. Receive breaking news and urgent alerts on gun laws. Stay up to date on self-defense and shooting sports. Discover pro-gun activities and events near you. Get your free gun rights newsletter now at bfanews.org. That's bfanews.org. bfanews.org.
The Buckeye Institute was founded in 1989, and we're the longest-serving free market think tank in the state of Ohio. My goal is removing barriers to prosperity that have been put in place by government. We want for Ohio to be the freest and most prosperous state in the country.
The Buckeye Institute is a source of common sense ideas that will have an impact on the nation as well as the state of Ohio.
All right, so now I want to talk about elections and things that we're doing and things that you need to do. And as I talked last week, I'm super excited. I heard this week, Frank LaRose, the Secretary of State of Ohio, said that he thinks for the first time ever, we're going to have 8 million registered voters in Ohio. That's up from 7.2 million in 2016. And because all of you listen to this show, we asked you to talk to hunters where 30% are not registered. We asked you to ask your Christian friends where 50% are not registered. We asked you to register them at voteohio.gov. And I think you did that. I am confident that out of that 800,000 new voters, I'm confident that the majority are people that think like us. And I'm really excited about that. Now, you can't register anymore. So you didn't register registered, you missed your chance. Okay. Early voting started this Tuesday, October 6th, and you can vote in person at the boards of elections, or you can vote absentee. Okay. And that's all part of it. Okay. But here's some things we just got to think about, all right? And I want to make some clarifications. So there was a big story this week that a UPS worker, a Postal Service worker in New Jersey, was arrested for allegedly dumping mail, including election ballots. A U.S. Postal Service mail carrier in Hudson County, New Jersey, was arrested for discarding mail, including 99 general election ballots sent from the County Board of Elections that were intended to be delivered to West Orange residents. Nicholas Borachny, 26 of Kearney, is charged by complaint with 1 count of delay, secretion, or detention of mail and 1 count of obstruction of mail. The delay of mail charge is punishable by a maximum penalty of 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. So this is serious business. And according to the court documents, roughly 1,875 pieces of mail, including 627 pieces of first-class mail, were just thrown in a dumpster by this guy. Right? So this brings up the issue that we had last week, about mailing your ballot. If you're going to vote absentee, and as I told you last week, I was stunned to find that half of you have decided to vote absentee. All right. And there's another story that came out about in Pennsylvania. They found a tractor trailer that had, thousands of absentee ballot request forms that were sent out by the Trump campaign that were destroyed in a trailer for the Postal Service. So I've been asking you to vote in person. Okay. Vote in person and basically you do not use your absentee ballot, even if you ask for one. So there was a story that came out, and it says, have you requested an Ohio mail ballot, but decided you want to vote in person? Here's what you can do. Having second thoughts after requesting an absentee ballot, you have an option that will let you cast a ballot in person while still making sure to count on an election day, something Secretary of State Frank LaRose reiterated on Monday in guidance to county election officials. Voters who have requested an absentee ballot be mailed to them but have not yet filled it out and returned it can still vote early and in person. Voting early and in person begins on October 6th, which is also when the first wave of mail ballots will go out. Early in-person voting requires voters to go to their county board of elections office, not your polling location, your county board of elections office, okay? And when you go there, you bring your blank absentee ballot that they sent you with you, and you say, I don't want to vote absentee, I want to vote in person on a machine. They will destroy your ballot and let you vote, okay? You can do that all the way up to the day before the election. And what they do is they go in the computer and they say, okay, this person already voted, so it takes it out of the absentee ballot list because they destroyed your ballot. So you can do that. If you do that on election day, okay, then you got to vote provisional because they're going to be too busy to be able to go into the computer and check it. So if you want to vote in person and you request an absentee ballot, just go to your county board of elections, take your absentee ballot with you, okay? And even if you don't have it, you can say, I asked for an absentee ballot. They'll check the computer, and if they mailed one to you, they'll negate that in the computer, and they'll let you vote, and your vote will be counted on November 3rd. So that's an important piece of the whole thing. And as I told you last week, you can go to your county board of elections website, and you can track your absentee ballot. You just look on the website, you'll see a link that says, check my absentee request. It'll show that they got your absentee ballot request, and then it'll tell you when they mailed it out to you. And then if you do end up mailing it, and again, if you're not going to vote in person, you still don't have to mail your absentee ballot. You can fill it out, put it in the security envelope, only yours in your security envelope, seal the security envelope, put that in the mailing envelope, then drive to the Board of Elections, and they have a drop box that you can just put it in so you know it got there. No mailman touches it. That's what I want you to do, okay? And so the election dates and stuff, as I told you last week, you can vote from 8 till 5 p.m. at your county Board of Elections, all the way from now almost to Election Day, Monday through Friday. But then October 24th and 25th, and the Saturday, October 31st and November 1st, you can actually vote on Saturdays and Sundays. So it's pretty, again, we have the easiest voting in the country. in Ohio. Anyone who tells you that Republicans are trying to suppress the vote in Ohio is a liar or a Democrat, but I repeat myself, okay? A Democrat socialist. So, but here's some very exciting news, all right? And this is key. This is your job for this week. This is what I'm asking you to do this week. We are very excited to find that the Ohio Republican Party put together a website this week that is awesome. You can get it at slate.ohiogop.org. Or if you go to wethepeopleconvention.org, my main website, one of the buttons on the front says, vote early in person, get your county slate card. When you click on that, when you go to that website, it will pull down your county and it will give you all the Republicans that are running in your county, including judges. This is critical. And because we have to tie all of our candidates to President Trump. And so on this slate.ohiogop.org, that website, there's a picture of Donald Trump and then Judy French and Sharon Kennedy, who are both running for Ohio Supreme Court. We need them to win. But in my emails I'm sending out, I have a thing that says, other than Trump, who are you voting for? Because many of you are just Trump supporters. But that's not good enough. We have to help the president by defeating every Democrat we can, from dog catcher to president. If you go to slate.ohiogop.org, you will be able to get a county slate card, and on it, it will list all the, the president and the vice president and the congressmen in your areas, and then the state offices, and then local county commissioners, all that. But it even lists all the local judges, all the appeals court judges, and it even lists the state school board candidates. State school board. Folks, I talked to you on this show about that Rule 20 that we're still trying to get Marxist DeWine to get rid of. This Rule 20 that the state school board passed that basically is forcing the radical leftist indoctrination of Black Lives Matter on your children, okay? We have 6 candidates running for state school board that can help reverse that Rule 20, but you don't know who the heck they are. That's why you go to slate.ohiogop.org or go to our website, wethepeopleconvention.org, click on the little button, get your county slate card, print it out, and if you're filling out an absentee ballot, fill it out with those people. If you're going to the polls, take it with you. Print more copies and hand them out. That's what I'm asking all of you patriots to do, is print these copies and hand them out to everyone you know, because we have got to vote down ticket and defeat every Democrat we can. Okay? That's the bottom line. Now, I've been talking to you guys all, summer about volunteering with the NRA. And I've told you that we are killing it, and it's unbelievable. But I told you we had a big project we had to do, because now they're doing absentee chase text messaging, and they're going to be doing some big things on Election Day. And because a lot of our volunteers are working the polls so you can vote in person, I need you to volunteer with the NRA. And I'm happy to hear that there were 60 new volunteers this week. 60 that got trained. It's awesome. For you to sign up, you need to send a text message. You need to send the letters P2P, peer-to-peer, to 703-708-4664. That's text P2P to 703-708-4664. David Conti will respond. He will train you. You don't have to use your own phone. You aren't using your cell phone number. It's the coolest interface you ever saw. Our people are loving it, and we are taking the fight to the left, not just here in Ohio, but across the nation. The Ohio Tea Party volunteers for the NRA are engaged in every House seat, every Senate seat, every presidential election in this nation that we can win. It's awesome, and I want to thank every one of you guys. You are my heroes. Every one of you people that doing the texting for the NRA, I will tell your story when this election is over. But I want you to know, I know the effort you're making, and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you. So before we break, with the radio show, I want to remind you that you can still go to freeohionow.com and keep doing those Trump trains and sign rallies, right? We had 12,000 people going to the bridge in Cuyahoga Falls on Route 8 with our sign rally last week. Keep doing that stuff. That's what it's all about. Okay? So Let's get our Slate cards printed out. Let's vote down ticket. Let's volunteer with the NRA. Let's take the fight to our enemies, and let's win this election, because our nation depends on it, and your individual freedom and liberty and prosperity absolutely depends on it. There's no doubt about that. So we're going to wrap up the radio show. The podcast continues for like another half an hour. So if you're listening to the radio show, just go to wethepeopleconvention.org and you can click, on the link for the podcast, and then you can scroll ahead past this part of the show and just pick up the rest of the show. We sure appreciate you being with us this week. We hope you'll come back again next week. We hope you'll tell others about this show, because it's important that they understand what's going on and get the information I just shared with you. Thanks again for listening and watching. My name is Tom Zawistowski, and we'll be back again next week. The We the People Convention News and Opinion radio program is paid for by donors like you. You can donate to the We the People Convention and support our cause by going to wethepeopleconvention.org, or by sending your check in any amount to We the People Convention, P.O. Box 6211, Akron, Ohio 44312. Okay, thanks for sticking with us for the podcast. Got some really important things to talk about. One of those is the vice presidential debate that happened, this week. And, again, the debates to me aren't that important. I thought it played out pretty much the way I expected it to play out. Listen, nobody looks more presidential than Mike Pence, right? You look up president in a dictionary, it's got his picture. So Kamala Harris was at a huge disadvantage, and she looked it. He was just so even-toned, so knowledgeable on the topics. He ate her lunch. The media's spinning it all this way. Don't lecture women and all that garbage. Listen, it's real simple. If you were looking at those two people and you had to decide who would you want to be the president if the president passed away, you ain't picking Kamala Harris. You're picking Mike Pence. My only beef with Vice President Pence was that they did bring up China during this debate. And when they brought up China, I really was expecting Vice President Pence to say, well, Ms. Harris, your husband's firm works for the Communist Chinese. They employ members of the Communist Chinese Party. How can you do policy against China when your husband gets paid by China? He didn't say that. I wish it would have. That would have been awesome, because nobody on the left would ever have heard of such a thing, right? But you listen to the show, you understand. We're at war with China. We're in World War III right now. All that's going on is because President Trump stood up to China. The coronavirus, China virus, is biological warfare. Don't tell me anything different. This is no accident. This was released intentionally to crash the Western world's economies to save China, okay? And I've done story after story. You can go to wethepeopleconvention.org and read about how the Chinese are funding the Democratic Party, right? They gave Hunter Biden $1.4 billion. They bought manufacturing firms with Chinese money in Michigan to build parts for Chinese weapons, okay? So don't give me any garbage. We're at war with China. We must defeat them and all the communists, including the ones in our country. And I've got some exciting news about that in a second. But basically, here you go. Here's a statement that came out this week. Prepare for war. China issues new threat over Taiwan. We will teach Taiwan independence forces a hard lesson, the Chinese said. China on Wednesday issued new threats aimed at Taiwan, telling the island's opposition party to prepare for war. In a column in China's state-sponsored Global Times, editor-in-chief Hu Jing warned, as the secessionist forces' arrogance continues to swell, the historical turning point is getting closer. The only way forward is for the mainland to fully prepare itself for war and to give Taiwan's secessionist forces a decisive punishment at any time. The nation's opposition party has been seeking closer cooperation with the United States, but Hu wrote, the more trouble Taiwan creates, the sooner the mainland will decide to teach Taiwan independence forces a hard lesson. China has been angered by the ongoing tour of Asia by Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, seeking support for U.S. efforts to contain China. Yeah, thank you, Secretary of State Pompeo. And I told you earlier, a few weeks ago, about the fact that China's Navy is now bigger than ours because Barack Obama and Joe Biden gutted our military, okay? They were helping China. Not my opinion. I can prove it. okay? But we're fighting back. Donald Trump is fighting back. And so Esper, the new Secretary of Defense, said this week that the Pentagon plans to have more than 500 Navy ships in the fleet by 2045 to counter China's growing military ambitions and threats. Esper mentioned the objective while outlining a broader naval force roadmap dubbed Battle Force 2045 in remarks at a virtual event on October 6th hosted by the Center for Strategic and Budgetary Assessment. Battle Force 2045 calls for a more balanced Navy of over 500 manned and unmanned ships. Esper said, adding that he envisions support to naval operations from unmanned aircraft of every type, including refueling, electronic warfare, and airborne early warning. The Chinese Communist Party intends to complete the modernization of its armed forces by 2035 and field a world-class military by 2049, Esper said. At that time, Beijing wants to achieve parity with the United States Navy, if not exceed our expectations and capabilities in certain areas to offset our overmatch in several others. He said, basically, we will reach 355 traditional battle force ships prior to 2035 at a time when the Chinese are modernizing their fleet. We're going to be matching them, and then we're going to exceed that. That's awesome. That's fighting back. That's fighting the Chi-Coms. We must destroy them because they intend to dominate the earth. They can't do that unless they dominate us. So this is an interesting piece of news that came across that many of you, I'm sure, did not hear. This is cool. U.S. bans communist immigrants from ever becoming U.S. citizens. In a policy alert issued October 2nd, U.S. Citizens and Immigration Services announced, in general, unless otherwise exempt, any intending immigrant who's a member or affiliate of the Communist Party or any other totalitarian party, domestic or foreign, is inadmissible to the United States. The policy amendments, supposedly part of a broader set of laws passed by Congress to address threats to the safety and security of the United States, effectively blocks members of the Chinese Communist Party from ever obtaining permanent residency or citizenship in the United States. While the alert did not explicitly mention the CCP, which has more than 90 million members and could impact millions more in Cuba, Vietnam, Laos, and elsewhere, the move adds a new dimension to Washington's ongoing aggression against the Chinese government and people and the left more broadly. Isn't that awesome, folks? Because what have I been telling you all along, right? I put this up on the screen for the podcast, and it says, it is now clear that everyone in the U.S. who says they are or are found to be a Marxist, a communist, or a socialist must be either deported or convicted of sedition for working to overthrow our government, as they are no longer Americans. That's the path we're on. It started, the tipping point was last month when President Trump answered our request in our letter to stop teaching Marxist indoctrination, forced indoctrination in our military and to our government officials. Then he said, we're going to stop it in education, and he launched the 1776 Project to counter the 1619 Project. And then he said, we're going to stop this indoctrination from happening in corporations who get government contracts. Folks, when you're digging a hole, the first thing you got to do if you want to get out is stop digging. We just stopped digging, and now we're going to start going after the commies in our midst, and we're going to drive them out of our country and out of this world once and for all. That's what our goal is. After we win this election, we are going to purge communism, socialism, and Marxism from our nation. No one will dare talk about it because it's evil incarnate. And this garbage that it's free speech and all that, that's nonsense. We're going to teach American history, and we're going to teach love of America, and we're going to raise children that love our country and will fight to defend it, because we were asleep at the switch for the last 50 years as the Chi-Coms and the Russians tried to, eat us from within. Just in time, the Tea Party came out in 2010, and now we elected President Trump in 16, and now we've got them on the run, and we've got to keep pushing it. So these are exciting times, friends, but we got to win this election or none of it matters. Okay? So we're going to take another break here for just a minute, You're listening to the We the People Convention News and Opinion radio show and podcast, and my name is Tom Zawistowski.
This is Jordan Sekula with the American Center for Law and Justice. At the ACLJ, we are committed to fighting the deep state and protecting freedom, the right to life, religious liberty, and fighting for the Constitution. The ACLJ has experienced tremendous success in litigating cases at all levels of the judiciary, from the federal district court level to the Supreme Court of the United States. We have offices in Washington, D.C., Jerusalem, and all around the world. You can find out more about the ACLJ and join us by visiting aclj.org.
Did you know that the Right to Life Action Coalition of Ohio is the largest statewide life group in the state? Are you tired of the compromised approach to pro-life legislation that has been the status quo for far too long? Since 2017, the efforts of the Right to Life Action Coalition of Ohio has changed that approach, closing loopholes and making pro-life laws enforceable. Visit rtlaohio.org or call 440-668-4049 for details.
All right, we're back for the final segment of the podcast. Thanks for sticking with us. We're going to talk about some important things. I told you last week that I was disappointed in AG Barr and John Durham, that they did not bring charges against the coup conspirators, Comey, Strzok, Page, you name it, Rosenstein, Mueller, Weinstein, all the rest of them. But we're getting closer, folks. And, there was some declassification of information that was very important. As you know, the slimy Jim Comey, testified in front of the Senate about a week ago, and he had total amnesia. The head of the U.S. intelligence community on October 6th declassified a referral sent from the CIA to FBI Director James Comey in 2016, which Comey last week claimed to have no memory of receiving. Oh, I bet you have no memory of receiving. That's why we now have the document. The 3-page referral released by Director of National Intelligence John Ratcliffe to members of Congress in partly redacted form apprised Comey and FBI Deputy Assistant Peter Strzok with intelligence suggested that Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton had approved the plan concerning the Trump campaign and Russia's alleged hack of the Democratic National Committee. In testimony before the Senate Judicial Committee last week, Comey claimed not to remember ever receiving the referral. Oh, I bet you didn't. Last week, Ratcliffe released a summary of the contents of the documents in which he alleged that Clinton approved the plan on July 26, 2016, and that Brennan's handwritten notes concerning a briefing he provided to President Barack Obama in late July. The information about the plan came from Russian intelligence analysis obtained by U.S. authorities, according to Ratcliffe. The Clinton plan was meant to distract the public's attention from Clinton's email scandal, and the CIA referral to Comey and Strzok states. So there you have it, right? This was hatched by Hillary Clinton and all the Democrat socialists in our government who infect our DOJ and our FBI, took it, knew flat out. The CIA said, this is garbage, and they still used it against President Trump, and they need to go to prison, okay? And, these declassified CIA memos are just one of several red flags of Russian collusion with a Clinton dirty trick, okay? The CIA decision to alert the FBI in September 2016 that there was intelligence showing the Russians believed Hillary Clinton was stirring up a false collusion narrative to vilify Donald Trump was set as a red flare, but it was one of several warnings that the Bureau had embarked on a fool's errand that could become a source of acute institutional embarrassment. You think? How about criminal activity? Between July 2016 and May 2017, the CIA repeatedly warned the FBI that the Russian collusion narrative spun by Christopher Steele's dossier was a combination of a political dirty trick by Team Clinton and targeted Russian disinformation. So who's Putin's puppet? Hillary? Who's Putin's puppet? Christopher Wray, the FBI director, right? Jim Comey? In rapid succession, the CIA alerted the Crossfire Hurricane team that Russia knew by July 2016 that Clinton had a research operation led by Steele, and by the fall of 2016 had fed Steele disinformation, and that Steele's dossier contained demonstrably false information. Okay. Likewise, America's premier spy agency also warned America's premier law enforcement agency it was focused on the wrong guy in the Trump advisor, Carter Page. CIA told FBI that Page was a U.S. intelligence asset. He was working for us, and they spied on him in the FISA court and called him a commie. They need to all go to prison, and we are going to push for that no matter what. And the Clinton Foundation investigation, John Durham and A.G. Barr can hide till the election, but after the election, we're coming after them, okay? We're coming after them in a big way. We demand justice. Without equal justice under the law, we are not a nation at all, period. We have to have equal justice. We must get it. We must fight for it. We got to win the election apparently first to get it. So let's see how that goes. Here's another story, interesting story. I don't know if you'll remember this, but the social media people were so concerned about having a fair election that they created this fund to help increase voter engagement. Yeah, well, a new report from the Amistad Project reveals that the Facebook and Google-funded Center for Technology and Civic Life's efforts to increase voting access is a front to solicit more Democrat voters. In fact, 99.4% of the money that they spent was spent in Democratic districts. According to the Amistad Project, of the 17 cities and counties that have received the largest grants from the CTCL, totaling more than $51 million combined, just under $300,000 was given to Republican-leaning counties. I've got a list here that shows all the counties and stuff like that. It's disgusting. In Dallas alone, the CTCL is spending $15 million, a Democratic-heavy city where Hillary Clinton won 60% of the vote. In Atlanta, Georgia, where Clinton won over 68% of the vote, the CTCL is spending $6 million to help sign up more Democratic voters, right? But no bias there, right? No bias there. Just like I said when they banned President Trump's tweet about the flu season being worse than the COVID as misinformation. No bias there. Yeah, don't worry. We're fighting them. And here's how we're fighting them. We're fighting by our actions, right? We're not about talk, we're about action. We aren't watching NBA. We're not watching, NFL. We're not watching anybody that is promoting the lies of Black Lives Matter, that can't figure out that they're a Marxist group. So guess what's happened? Yeah, the NBA, their ratings have been the worst ever. Their finals, their championship game with our boy LeBron James in it, had the lowest ratings since they started taking ratings in like 1993. And after the ratings crash, the NBA may go unwoke. There's a story here that basically says that instead, the NBA quite literally, is backing off and saying we're not gonna put this stuff on the court anymore. Here's what Adam Silver, and by the way, for you in the podcast, the picture on your screen, that guy's head, that's what he actually looks like. That's Adam Silver. He looks like a Martian. He's running the NBA. He's a total leftist slime bag. Okay? Adam Silver said, we're completely committed to standing for social justice and racial equality. And that's been the case going back decades. And it's part of the DNA of this league. How it gets manifest is something we're going to have to sit down with the players and discuss for next season. I would say in terms of messages you see on the court in our jerseys, this was an extraordinary moment in time when we began these discussions with the players and what we all lived through this summer. My sense is there'll be somewhat of a return to normalcy, that those messages will largely be left to be delivered off the floor. No more Black Lives Matter on the court. No more Black Lives sayings on their jerseys. You made them pay. Keep making them pay. They need to go out of business. LeBron James will find out he ain't nothing if you're not paying for tickets and watching the advertising on TV. That's what they're going to find out. And guess who else is getting the message? Yeah, our buddies in the NFL. Here's what's indisputable. Ratings for the NFL are down in some cases to an ugly degree. Thursday Night Football was down an astounding 70% from last year, but that comes with a huge caveat because it's only been on the NFL Network and not broadcast on Fox TV, so that cuts down on how many people watch. Still, only 5.4 million watched the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets play last Thursday. Sunday Night Football took a steep dive, falling 37% in viewership from last year. You think maybe they'll get the message? You think they'll start to understand? You think they'll start to take their role on as being leaders in our country and what we do and what we think and what we believe? You think they'll start to defend American values again? I think they will, because they're capitalists whether they like it or not. They're not socialists. because they're making the millions of dollars. You and I aren't. Okay? But you teach them by acting. Okay? And I'm going to close with this story because it's a beauty. I just love this. Nick Sandman, the kid from Covington High School who got attacked at the Life rally, okay, and has already won suits against, CNN and stuff. Nicholas Sandman, the young man who had his name unfairly dragged through the proverbial mud by a bulk of liberal mainstream media, is about to become exponentially more wealthy than CNN and the Washington Post has already made him, thanks to a decision by a number of judges to let his defamation suits against the rest of the media proceed. According to Hot Air, Sandman's lawyer, Lynn Wood, made the announcement on Thursday, indicating that lawsuits against the heavy hitters in the media industry who smeared Sandman's name in early 2019 with regard to a confrontation involving two groups in Washington, D.C. that was widely misreported. Motions to dismiss Nick Sandman's defamation lawsuits filed in Kentucky federal court against the New York Times, Rolling Stone, ABC News, CBS News were just denied. NBC's motion had previously been denied. Gannett's motion was briefed on different time schedules, and a denial is expected in a few weeks, Wood tweeted. For well over a year now, those media outlets, which all grossly lean to the left, have presumably attempted every legal trick in the book to avoid cutting Sandman and his attorney a massive check since the incident. Make them pay Nick Sandman, baby. When we fight back, folks, we win. That's what you need to understand. That's what Donald Trump has taught us all. You don't have to like his personality, right? But you got to like his fight. And you know he fights for you every day. And you know what? He doesn't lie to you. He keeps his word. He does what he says. And that's the total difference between him and literally everybody else in politics. Because they're all liars. Okay? And that's why they hate Donald Trump so much. And that's why we love him so much. And that's why you and I are all working so hard to get him reelected. Right? It's worth it, believe me. I would never waste your time, effort, or money. I would never ask you to do something that I didn't think would be productive. So when I ask you to help get barn billboards to put up, by the way, we just got this barn billboard on I-75 that the farmer lit up. 52,000 cars a day go by and see that sign. We are now at like 2.5 million exposures a week from our sign billboard program because you guys found 100 places to hang signs, and we could have done more if we had more money. And speaking of money, I want to thank those of you who've sent in donations. I know you listen to me, and when I say, hey, we're out of money, you guys send in money. And I really appreciate that, and I don't intend to misuse that. I do want to ask this of you, though. Going forward, I need you, even if it's $5 a month, I need you to make monthly donations. Because when this election is over, we're going to have a huge fight here in Ohio to get rid of DeWine. We're going to have a huge fight nationally to take on, Durham and Barr and get justice. We're going to have to drive the communists out of here. And we're going to need to keep going. And so I need cash flow. All right. And everybody wants to fight now because of Trump's election. We're going to have to fight equally hard afterwards. I need you to make donations of $5 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month, whatever you can afford. But by doing it monthly, it gives me the cash flow I need to keep the operations going and pay for the emails, the text messages, all the things that we have to do. So if you want to give, I would like you to consider giving a monthly donation. That would really help me more than anything right now. Okay? I can't thank you guys enough. I'm so proud to be standing with you in the field of battle, defending our country. I am confident of victory. That's. I got news for you. I say this when I speak. Maybe you never heard it before, but I always say, when you're fighting for your country, there is no trying. There's only winning or dying. You don't try to defeat the Nazis. You don't try to defeat the communists. You don't try to defend your country. You either defend your country or you die trying. That's where we're at. There is no trying. Nothing is acceptable but total victory. And that means voting the Slate card all the way down and making sure no Democrat wins anything. Okay? That's what this is all about. That's our philosophy. That's our marching orders. We will accept nothing but total victory. Unconditional surrender, just like granted up Appomattox. Okay? All right. We're going to wrap it up. You've been listening to the We the People Convention news and opinion radio show and talk and podcast. If you need to send me information, you can do that at info@wethepeopleconvention.org. Please tell other people about this podcast, and please, send me information about things you want me to cover. Thanks for listening. We'll be back again next week.